We're the 158th Fighter Wing out of Burlington, Vermont, composed of maintainers. Here's what we have out here on this area, the airfield where we're at. Got multiple AFSCs to back shops, front shops, bunch of traditional guardsmen as well as full-time airmen. And the great thing, we also have a total force integration, have a bunch of active duty component members with us as well. So we're a conglomeration, a melting pot of a bunch of different folks here to support this aircraft behind us and make sure that it delivers the product at the end on the target on the mission. We're all tasked out here because we reported we're ready to go, and I think we proved that. You know, I'm not sure if you're aware, but less than 30 days ago, we got a task in to get out here and get these jets ready. Typically for a guard unit, that's about a year process to get the aircraft out here. Nothing less, I believe, than a Herculean effort to get the airmen out of here. Brought airmen in early from my traditional drill status guardsmen. Told their employers within a week, hey, look, the nation called, I got a mission to go do, and that's what they did. They came in, did some extra days, generated aircraft to be able to get out of here and be combat ready, not just flying home station missions, but to be combat ready to come out here and meet the mission. So we're chosen because we've got a great airman. I failed to mention that we also have airmen from throughout the Air National Guard. We have members from Wisconsin, Alabama, Atlantic City that are here with us as well. So it really is the Guard pulling together to meet a short-term tasking and to become effective as soon as we got here. We are in support of Operation Inherent Resolve. The original tasking was after a certain amount of time, a couple days, we'd be able to get the birds on the deck, aircraft on deck, a couple days to actually set up shops, test our equipment, make sure stuff were coming home, set up, ready to go. Well, you know, the tasking changed a little bit, and in less than 15 hours we were asked to produce combat effective aircraft and put it over the targets that we were asked to do. Again, just a great effort by all the airmen here. Never questions, never faltered. They hit the ground running, hit the ground sprinting. Very proud of them, but within less than 15 hours, we're able to deliver to this nation a couple aircraft to go over the top of their target, and we've not let off since. So as soon as we got those two out, they kept going, and you know, we'll run the continuous operations for the next couple months. When our main body landed here, which is the majority of our airmen, came on station, the aircraft came shortly after that, within 12 hours. Once the aircraft landed, we were asked to go ahead and produce combat sortie effective aircraft within 15 hours. So it took us, typically it'll take 48 hours at least to be able to start running aircraft through and provide combat effective aircraft. But the nation called, the nation asked us to produce those aircraft in a much shorter time frame. The airmen hit the ground running. They set up shops, typically things that they would check, go in the background. That's what we do in those first 48 hours, set up your shops, make sure people have the creature comforts, just actually know where they're going to sleep, where they're going to bed, all those types of things. We didn't have that luxury. Those aircraft landed, the nation needed us, and we were up and running and provided two combat sortie aircraft, like I said, within 15 hours of being on the ground, of those aircraft arriving on ground. And then we haven't let up since. It's been sortie after sortie after sortie, and we have no reason to believe that we won't continue to provide that combat sortie power for the next several months. So you know, the challenges that we really face as maintenance is, you know, typically you'd see about a 12-month notification or a warno that you're going to be deployed and you're going to go to what location. So you start looking at your aircraft. This aircraft behind me is a 300-hour phase aircraft. So every 300 hours, they're going to take this aircraft and they're going to open up every panel, and they're going to look at every nook and cranny and make sure that no chafing of the wires, and look at areas that we typically don't look at post and pre-flight, and make sure things are good and everything's great for the pilots that go up in these aircraft. So typically for a guard unit, for us, that'll be about a year and a half. Every year and a half that aircraft will come in, and we'll phase that through. We're going to do every aircraft in the time that we're here at least once on that phase line. So we're putting an enormous amount of hours that we typically wouldn't do in the time that we're doing it. So there's heavy maintenance that goes along with that. There's things that we do not want to do here at station. So not only did we have to get our airmen ready in a short amount of time, get their families ready in a short amount of time, but we had to break into these aircraft and do maintenance that we have projected 1.5 years from now, and we had to get it done before we stepped out the door. So when we called in resources, that's what they were doing. They weren't just polishing canopies, they were making sure that the aircraft were ready to go, and any heavy maintenance that we had downrange was already done. So we're equipped to make sure that we'll take care of the scheduled maintenance and those types of things, but typically things that'll take a long time for maintenance won't be done here. When I talk about that heavy maintenance, it was within 30 days. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about it. We actually had other organizations. We're not just Vermont tails here. We have Wisconsin, Atlantic City, and Alabama aircraft with us. Those units actually reached out and helped us as well. So in their home station, they were taking their resources while they were still flying their missions. They stepped up and said, hey, you know what, we're going to help you out as well. So those airmen out there at those installations were doing that heavy maintenance for us as well. So it really was a collection of all of us pulling together, all the National Guard resources pulling together to make sure that all that type of heavy maintenance was done, and we're going to be able to, within that 15 hours, provide that combat sortie effectiveness. Not atypical from any other unit. We have a lot of traditional guardsmen, airmen that are going to school full-time, college, civilian employers, and typically, like we said, when you got a build-up, you have 6 months that you can prepare an employer or schools to be able to say, I'm not going to be here. How do they go out and find a replacement? You don't take a semester of school. Our airmen had to drop all what they were doing to do that. They had to go to their civilian employer and say, I'm not coming to work in about a week. And I'll say the civilian employers were 95% of it, 99% of it were right on, and they were very supportive. We've come from very supportive communities. Same thing with the schools, the local schools that we have there, the colleges, the universities, the professors, and from everything that we had. And we were very cognizant of what was going on out there. We made sure that we were taking care of the airmen, and the airmen were being taken care of, I should say, and to report those issues. And we found very few, so it was very, very heartwarming to know that the community that we live in Burlington area was also in support of us being here, and it showed. So that relieved a lot of the pressures from the airmen to say what the employers and how the relationships with their employers and the relationships with their schools, and they could focus on getting these aircraft here, focus on coming in and paying attention to the details that need to get these aircraft out of here. So great communities help support the National Guard and make this possible as well.
Very short notice deployment for the Air National Guard. Guys typically have closer to 6 months and usually more than a year's notice before being tasked for this kind of assignment. We got that notice less than a month before our departure date. We were able to mobilize 300 people and 12 aircraft to come over into this AOR, many of whom were part-timers, so traditional guardsmen, in addition to our full-time workforce and TFI, Total Force Initiative component. So we showed up on the ground with an ADVON team and then had the jets arrive a few days later. Within 24 hours of those aircraft touching down, we were flying a combat sortie in the AO. So it was pretty darn collaborative effort amongst the operations, maintenance, and planning components of this region to make that happen. But certainly a testament to the kind of experience and the work ethic of the 158th Fighter Wing. So we got this notification that we're going to deploy to this theater of operations, and we're able to mobilize people inside of a month. Typically, Air National Guard Reserve units have closer to 6 to 12 months to prepare for something of this nature, but the tasking came down and we were prepared and were able to mobilize all those people within that period of time. Moreover, when we hit the ground here with our small ADVON team, getting ready to catch the jets a few days later, we were able to turn those aircraft into combat ready and flying missions on the daily tasking within 24 hours. So really a testament to the 158th Fighter Wing and our ability, our experience, our ability to operate, and ability to draw people from those traditional drill status guard ranks to mobilize and support this mission here. So beginning combat operations in this theater is complex. It takes a lot of preparation and coordination amongst various components of our organization, namely maintenance and operations being the big two, but also several others that have helped us get aircraft in the air and supporting the mission that we're doing. So you've had pilots, operations support, intelligence, and then all of the maintenance personnel, avionics, crew chiefs, back shops, engines, etc., that basically been working, I would say, on average 15-hour days to be able to get aircraft up and weapons loaded in a good state to be able to take into the mission. No, so starting operations inside of 24 hours, units typically have at least a few days to do that. We were willing and able to support what was asked of us, so we basically had a lot of the work done coming in the door, and then we were able to set foot down here, and with I would say some very deft skill and coordination between operations and maintenance and the host unit here, be able to support combat operations within 24 hours, which is something I've actually never heard of before. I love it here. I think this is a great base. This is a tremendous experience for me as a first combat deployment, and I think the host unit was very well prepared to receive us. The host command here was very ready to receive us, gave us everything we needed. And I think we've worked very hard to fit into the broader mission in this region. But I think this is a great place to operate out of, and the facilities are good. Obviously, missing being with the family back home for Christmas, but I don't think anybody that volunteered to come for this has thought twice about that. They're more than happy to be doing this mission and have this opportunity. So I think we really view it as an opportunity. So. Another part of this I'd like to mention really is the coordination within the Air National Guard back on the home side. So as soon as this notification came down and the tasking came down, kind of I would say the Air National Guard family, not just fighter wings, but wings across the entire Air National Guard, really supported us in getting aircraft personnel and equipment ready to go. So we were able to essentially go to them, get the expertise, the equipment, whatever it was that we needed, bring that to Vermont, and get it ready to go out the door. So that was a pretty touching aspect of this, was just realizing when something such a high priority comes up, that you've got a big family to lean back on in the Air National Guard, and then the Air Force in general.